What if we told you that something has already begun to change in Arlington, Texas? Even though BTS hasn't arrived yet, there is no BTS performance happening tonight. The lights at AT&T Stadium have not yet gone dark. Jimin has not yet walked onto the stage. Jungkook, RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, and V have not yet stood in front of thousands of ARMY. And yet, the atmosphere surrounding Arlington is already beginning to feel different. Why? Why is one city in Texas suddenly becoming a major point of attention for BTS fans around the world? And more importantly, what happens when Jimin and BTS finally step onto one of America's most iconic stadium stages? There is a reason ARMY are watching Arlington so closely. On August 15th and 16th, 2026, BTS is scheduled to bring the ARIRANG World Tour to AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. 2 dates. One massive stadium. And thousands upon thousands of fans preparing for a weekend they may remember for the rest of their lives. But here is where the story becomes even more interesting. The biggest change in Arlington may not actually be something you can see. It may be something you can feel. Because when BTS comes to a city, the experience begins long before the first song. It begins with anticipation. It begins with memories. It begins with fans counting down the days, checking their tickets, planning their outfits, traveling across states and even across countries, and imagining the exact moment when the lights finally go down. And for many ARMY, this is not simply another concert. It is a reunion, a celebration. And for some fans, perhaps even the fulfillment of a dream that has been years in the making. So today, we are taking you inside the story of Arlington. We are going to look at why this Texas city matters, why AT&T Stadium is such an important location, and why the arrival of BTS carries a much deeper emotional meaning for fans, especially those who have followed Jimin and the members for years. And stay with us until the end, because there is one question that may become the emotional center of this entire Arlington story. What will happen when Jimin finally looks out from that enormous stage and sees a sea of ARMY waiting for him? This is where the story begins. Arlington, Texas. For some people, the name may simply sound like another American city, but geographically, Arlington occupies a fascinating position. It sits between Dallas and Fort Worth, within the massive Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area. That location has helped Arlington develop into a major destination for sports, entertainment, and large-scale events. Arlington is not a city unfamiliar with massive crowds. It is not a city unfamiliar with enormous stadiums. It is not a city unfamiliar with fans traveling long distances for unforgettable events. Arlington has been building its identity around entertainment for years. But BTS brings something different. They bring a global community. They bring ARMY. And ARMY is not limited by geography. It is not limited by language. It is not limited by age. It is not limited by one generation. That is one of the most remarkable things about BTS. Their music has become part of the personal stories of millions of people. For many fans, especially women who have followed BTS throughout different stages of their lives, the connection goes far beyond music. There may have been difficult days when a BTS song became a source of comfort. There may have been lonely moments when watching Jimin smile on a screen brought a little happiness. There may have been times when a song helped someone find the strength to keep going. And that is why a BTS concert can never be measured only by the number of seats inside a stadium. Behind every seat, there is a person. Behind every ARMY bomb, there is a story. Behind every voice singing along, there is a memory. That is the part of BTS that statistics can never fully explain. And perhaps, that is why Arlington already feels different. Now let's talk about the place that will become the center of attention. AT&T Stadium. For millions of Americans, the stadium is already familiar. It is home to the Dallas Cowboys and has become one of the most recognizable sports and entertainment venues in the United States. But on August 15th and 16th, the stadium will take on a different identity. It will become a BTS stage. And that distinction matters. Because BTS is not simply walking into an empty venue. They are entering a place that has already witnessed enormous sporting events, major entertainment productions, and crowds of extraordinary size. The city of Arlington has developed systems and infrastructure designed to handle major events. Traffic, parking, hotels, restaurants, transportation, crowd movement. Everything becomes part of the experience when a major event takes place. And when BTS arrives, the impact does not begin when the first note is played. It begins before that. It begins when fans start arriving. It begins when hotels become part of the journey. It begins when restaurants become gathering places. It begins when fans walk through Arlington wearing BTS merchandise. It begins when strangers recognize one another simply because they are carrying the same symbol. And suddenly, a city becomes part of a memory. That is something only a few artists can create. Because for ARMY, Arlington will no longer simply be a city in Texas. It may become the city where they finally saw BTS. The city where they heard thousands of people sing together. The city where they saw Jimin standing under the lights. The city where a dream became real. And there is another reason why Jimin's presence carries such emotional weight. Jimin has always had a distinctive way of communicating emotion. Sometimes it is through his voice. Sometimes through movement. Sometimes through a simple expression. Sometimes through the smallest interaction with the audience. There is a softness in the way he performs, but there is also tremendous strength. And that combination has made his stage presence especially meaningful to many fans. Imagine someone who has followed BTS for years. Maybe they discovered the group during a difficult period in their life. Maybe they watched the members grow from young artists into global stars. Maybe they never imagined they would actually have the opportunity to see them live. And then one day, they see the schedule. Arlington, August 15th. August 16th. AT&T Stadium. Suddenly, something that once seemed impossible becomes real. That is when a concert stops being just a date on a calendar. It becomes a countdown, a destination, a promise, a moment waiting to happen. And this is where the emotional power of the Arlington story becomes much bigger than the concert itself. Because people are not simply traveling to see 7 performers. They are traveling to meet a part of their own memories. They are traveling to celebrate years of music, years of laughter, years of waiting, years of saying, maybe someday. And now someday has a date. August 15th, August 16th. 2 nights that could become unforgettable chapters in the lives of thousands of people. But Arlington itself has another fascinating connection to entertainment. The city has developed a major entertainment district that includes several large sports and entertainment venues. AT&T Stadium is part of that larger environment. Nearby are other major attractions that have helped make Arlington a destination for visitors from across the region. That means BTS is not arriving in a place that is unfamiliar with entertainment. They are arriving in a city that has built an identity around it. And when the ARMY begins arriving, that identity will take on another layer. The energy will increase. The conversations will change. The anticipation will become impossible to ignore. But perhaps the most beautiful part is that people from completely different backgrounds will suddenly share the same destination. A mother traveling with her daughter. 2 longtime friends finally attending their first BTS concert together. A fan flying in from another state. Someone who may have saved money for years to make this trip possible. Someone who may have thought the opportunity would never come. And suddenly, all of them are moving toward the same place. AT&T Stadium. They may speak different languages. They may come from different cultures. They may have completely different life stories. But inside that stadium, there is a chance that those differences will temporarily disappear. Because when the lights go down and the opening begins, thousands of people may become one voice, one crowd, one emotion. ARMY. That is the extraordinary power of a BTS concert. And that is why Arlington is becoming more than a location on a tour map. It is becoming a meeting point. A meeting point between BTS and the people who have supported them through years of music, challenges, changes, and unforgettable moments. And for Jimin, there may be something particularly emotional about looking out at that audience. Imagine standing on a stage that enormous. The lights are shining. The music is about to begin. The crowd is almost impossible to see because there are so many people. And then suddenly you hear it. The crowd begins calling your name. Jimin. Thousands of voices. Maybe tens of thousands. A sound that cannot be recreated in a recording studio. A sound that exists only in that exact moment. What would that feel like? For an artist who has spent years traveling the world, moments like that can still be powerful. Because behind the fame and the enormous stages, there is still a human being standing there. Someone who can look at the audience and realize just how far the journey has come. From Korea to America. From small stages to stadiums. From dreams to reality. And perhaps that is what makes BTS different. The scale has changed. The venues have changed. The numbers have changed. But the emotional connection with fans remains at the heart of the experience. Now think about Arlington again. Before BTS arrives, the city is already preparing for a weekend of enormous activity. But from the perspective of ARMY, preparation means something much more personal. It means choosing what to wear. It means preparing banners. It means charging phones. It means organizing transportation. It means meeting friends. It means taking photographs. It means thinking about what to say if the impossible happens and Jimin looks directly toward their section. For some fans, these may sound like small details. But to someone who has waited years for this moment, those details are everything. Because memories are created from small details. The bracelet someone wore. The song that made them cry. The person standing beside them. The first glimpse of the stage. The moment the lights went out. The first appearance of BTS. The first smile from Jimin. And perhaps one sentence that no one expected. That is how unforgettable moments are born. Not always through something enormous. Sometimes, the smallest moment becomes the one people remember forever. And this is why we should not focus only on what happens during the concert. We should also pay attention to everything happening around it. Because Arlington itself is becoming part of the story. A city positioned between Dallas and Fort Worth. A city known for major sports and entertainment. A city preparing to welcome one of the biggest global music acts. And a city that, for at least one weekend, may become a temporary home for thousands of ARMY. But there is still something we do not know. And this is where the curiosity becomes even stronger. The concert has not happened yet. Jimin has not walked onto the Arlington stage. The lights have not gone down. The opening music has not begun. We do not know which moments will become unforgettable. We do not know which member will say something that makes the entire stadium emotional. We do not know whether Jimin will share a personal message that stays in the hearts of fans. We do not know what unexpected interactions might happen between the members. And we certainly do not know which small moment could suddenly become the most talked about clip online. That uncertainty is exactly what makes the countdown so exciting. Because when the future is still unknown, every possibility feels alive. Could Arlington truly become a sea of purple? What will Jimin's reaction be when he sees thousands of ARMY waiting for him? Will BTS say something special about Texas? Will one unexpected moment between the members become the emotional highlight of the night? We simply do not know yet. But perhaps that is the beauty of waiting. Sometimes, the most emotional part of a concert is not the final song. It is the anticipation before the first one. It is the moment when fans realize that the dream they have carried for years is finally happening. And that is where Arlington stands right now. On the edge of something. BTS has not arrived yet. But the countdown has begun. The stadium is waiting. The fans are waiting. The city is waiting. And somewhere in that anticipation is the possibility of a moment that nobody can predict. A moment that could make thousands of people cry. A moment that could make Jimin smile. A moment that could become one of the most unforgettable memories of the ARIRANG era. So when people say, something feels different in Arlington, perhaps the real answer is surprisingly simple. The buildings have not necessarily changed. The streets have not suddenly become unrecognizable. The city is still Arlington. But the meaning of Arlington has changed for the people who are waiting for BTS. For someone who does not know the group, it may simply be another city in Texas. For an ARMY, Arlington now has a date, a stadium, a dream, and a possibility that on August 15th or August 16th, they may stand inside AT&T Stadium and hear the first sound of BTS live. They may see 7 figures walk onto the stage. They may see Jimin under the lights. And in that moment, years of waiting could suddenly disappear. Everything could become one unforgettable second. That is what makes this story so emotional. Because BTS may be traveling to Arlington for a concert. They are traveling for a memory. They are traveling for a feeling. They are traveling for a moment they may carry with them for the rest of their lives. And perhaps that is the real transformation happening in Arlington. Not a physical transformation. An emotional one. A city is becoming a destination. A stadium is becoming a dream. And a date on a calendar is becoming something thousands of people are counting down to. But the story is not over. Because the most important question has not yet been answered. What will happen when BTS finally steps onto that stage? What will Jimin see when he looks across the audience? Will he see only a crowd? Or will he see thousands of individual stories, each one carrying years of love, support, and anticipation?